Harriet Tubman, the most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad, referred to as Moses for helping her people escape. Warrior, hero, unmatched perseverance. Born enslaved, Tubman was beaten and whipped by her enslaver as a child. Early in life, she suffered a traumatic head wound from a metal weight an overseer threw intending to hit another enslaved person. The blow caused her to bleed and become unconscious. Tubman was returned to her enslaver's house, where she remained without medical care for a couple of days. After her injury, she began to have seizures and fall unconscious. She started to experience visions and dreams, which she said were revelations from God. She experienced this throughout the rest of her life. Tubman's enslaver promised to free her entire family when her parents turned 45. But when her enslaver died, the enslavers who inherited Tubman's family did not follow through. Tubman married a free African American man, but that did not change her enslaved status due to the slave laws. She changed her name from Araminta to Harriet. Tubman became sick, and it decreased her value to her enslaver. Her enslaver tried to sell her, but could not find a buyer. Tubman began to pray for her enslaver, asking God to make him change his ways. When it seemed that her enslaver found a buyer, Tubman prayed that if her enslaver did not have a change of heart, he should die. A week later, her enslaver dies. I can't make this up. Tubman's enslaver's death increased the chance that she would be sold and her family split up. Tubman stated that there was one of two things she had a right to, liberty or death, and that if she could not have one, she would have the other. Tubman's enslaver's death increased the chance that she would be sold and her family split up. Tubman stated that there was one of two things she had a right to, liberty or death, and that if she could not have one, she would have the other. Tubman and two of her brothers then escaped, but her brothers had second thoughts and she ended up returning with them. Shortly after, Tubman escaped again without her brothers. Successfully escaping, she stated that when she passed the line into the free state of Pennsylvania, there was such a relief and glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and she felt like she was in heaven. Tubman thought of her family often. She was not pleased with how she was free and they were still enslaved. After she was warned that her nieces and her nieces' children were about to be sold, Tubman went back to Maryland and hid with family in Baltimore until the sale. On the day of the sale, Harriet's niece's husband, a free African American, outbid everyone for his wife, but did not pay. They escaped with their children when the auctioneer stepped away. That night, they took a canoe from Cambridge to Baltimore, where they met up with Tubman, and she brought the family to Philadelphia. Tubman returned to Maryland on her second trip to help one of her brothers escape. Then, she returned to Maryland to find her husband. She finds out that her husband had married another woman, and he stated that he was happy and did not want to leave. Harriet ended up finding enslaved African Americans who wanted to escape, and she guided them to Philadelphia. Within 11 years, Tubman returned to Maryland, rescuing around 70 enslaved African Americans in about 13 trips. People rescued included her other brothers, their wives, and some of their children. She provided instructions to about 60 other enslaved African Americans who escaped. Tubman, or any of the enslaved African Americans she helped escape, were ever captured. Tubman believed that a Union victory was key in the abolition of slavery. She served as a scout, spy, soldier, and nurse for the Union Army during the Civil War. Tubman became the first woman to lead an armed assault during the Civil War. She led the Combahee River Raid, which freed over 700 enslaved African Americans in South Carolina. In 2016, the U.S. Treasury Department announced plans to develop a Harriet Tubman $20 bill. The plan was delayed by the Treasury Department under the Trump administration. The Biden administration resumed the efforts. I look forward to a Harriet Tubman $20 bill. Even throughout complex times in history, African Americans have always managed to persevere. Understand our history. Understand ourselves. Understand our future.